What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Game Time Voice Report here on the Game Time Voice YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike Walsh, and I thank you for joining me for another exciting trip around the world of sports. And today's episode is going to be a little bit different as there is one main topic that is on my mind and I can't wait to delve into that's going to take up the majority of the episode. College hockey is officially back. We'll take a look at the weekend schedule for the first weekend of college hockey, some interesting matchups that are both non conference, conference, and some exhibitions, but it's the first weekend, so might not be as exhibition y as we think. We'll also take a look at some polls, both the Hockey East, which is the main conference here in the state of Massachusetts and in New England, as well as the national polls of the first week and see what they could entail for the upcoming season. And finally, we'll end as we always do with our wackiest of the week and ponder the question why it took this long for somebody in the NFL to run the tush push other than the Philadelphia Eagles. All that and much, much more. So buckle those chin straps up and lace up those skates real tight. This is episode 9 of the Game Time Voice Report. We're going to start today with our topic on college hockey as the boys in the books and on the ice are getting ready to start off this season this coming weekend with some high profile matchups. And so we're going to start and take a look at the conference around here in the state of Massachusetts as well as the region of New England, Hockey East, where the coaches poll came out to some very interesting results. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the term, don't worry. I'll allow myself to educate you on what this entails. See, at the beginning of every season, the coaches within Hockey East, which is about 11 teams, put together a poll on who they think will be the top teams in the upcoming season. And this time, there was a little bit to be desired and some questions raised about this coaches poll. Now, the top spot was reserved for the Boston University Terriers, and that was no surprise, given as they made it all the way to the national championship last year before being upended by the Western Michigan Broncos. So the fact that they took up the top spot really was no surprise whatsoever and gained 105 points in the process, with 7 first place votes out of the coaches in Hockey East. But for there, it takes a very weird turn. And allow me to indulge you for a minute, as it was Providence that came in number 2, UConn number 3, Maine number 4, Boston College number 5, UMass number 6, a tie at 7th between my UMass Lowell Riverhawks and the Northeastern Huskies, Merrimack number 9, UNH number 10, and Vermont rounding out at number 11. Now, this is where I get a little bit of a question. Now, I said this first when I was talking with someone off camera about this. Boston University at first place, I have no problem with that. Went to the national championship last year, unfortunately was upended, but returning most of their players, Cole Hudson, one the last of the Hudson brothers at Boston University, as Lane is now a phenom with the Montreal Canadiens, and his brother Quinn signed his contract with the Edmonton Oilers. But Cole Hudson, Mikhail Grigoriev, who was a goaltender that joined in the second half of last year and took the net by storm, and Cole Eiserman have returned along with a plethora of good recruits coming in. That's no surprise. You might even say that the bottom three is no surprise whatsoever. Merrimack, who had a down year after 3 or 4 good and successful years in previous years. UNH, who's still trying to get back to where they used to be as one of the top teams in the conference. And Vermont, who just can't seem to get out of their own way and can't seem to escape the bottom of the conference. So 1 and 9, 10, 11, I agree perfectly with. However, as far as 2 through 8 goes, here's why I have a question. How does the defending Hockey East champs, the Maine Black Bears, who are returning most of their core, drop all the way to fourth? That's peculiar to me. And Providence, who, remind you, barely made the NCAA tournament and was ousted in the first game, jumps all the way to second ahead of Maine, the defending Hockey East champions, and the team they beat in the Hockey East championship, the Yukon Huskies. That's perplexing to me. Even more perplexing, the Boston College Eagles, who, yes, lost Ryan Leonard and Gabe Perreault, who signed their contracts to go play in the NHL. Ryan Leonard with the Washington Capitals and Gabe Perreault with the New York Rangers. But you still have Teddy Stiga And James Higgins, the Boston Bruins top draft pick, returning to Chestnut Hill. So the fact that they fly all the way down to fifth is confusing to me. Couple that with the fact that the Northeastern Huskies, who took the Maine Black Bears to double overtime in the Hockey East semifinals, fall all the way to seventh, and my UMass Lowell Riverhawks, who made it to the quarterfinals as the fifth seed, I should say, and was, yes, ousted by Maine, but also had a very good year and was ranked for most of the year last year before falling off at the tail end of the season, drop all the way to seventh after finishing fifth. But the other thing I think this shows is that this conference is wide open, and I honestly think anybody in the top 7 or 8 of this conference could necessarily win this conference and get an automatic berth into the NCAA tournament. And as far as how I would have put in this preseason poll, well, this is just me, and I'm reading off a little bit of a note taking thing that I did for this because I wanted to see how much mine lined up. So I did have BU number one. I had Maine number two. They are the defending Hockey East champions, even though they didn't go as far as BU in the NCAA tournament. I have BC number three. Again, they lost Fowler, Ryan Leonard, and Gabe Perreault, but still have James Higgins, Teddy Stiga, and a good plethora of talent returning. So I don't think they're going to fall off much. UConn, I think, is not getting enough credit as they made it to the regional final before losing to Penn State and went into the Hockey East championship game before losing to Maine. I think they are number four. I would say, and this is biased. I will say this is biased, but I honestly believe this because of what we gained. I think Lowell is the fifth best team based on where they were last year and the improvements they made in the offseason, both in recruiting and in the transfer portal. So I have them as number five. I have Northeastern number six. I think that they made a late run and added and reloaded their talent pool in the offseason. I have UMass number eight. Now, this might be a little bit low considering they made the NCAA tournament and the two teams above them did not. But I think they are still one of the best teams, and they took Western Michigan to extra periods in the regional final, and one goal could have put them into the Frozen Four. So I think they're still a dangerous team. I have UNH up at nine, so I think the UNH is going to get above. I have Merrimack number 10. That's personal. I think Merrimack has taken a tail off, and the talent that they had has moved on, and they're at the tail end of that talent pool. And Vermont is Vermont. I apologize to any Vermont viewers who are seeing this, but for some reason, you guys just can't get over the hump. You guys used to be good in the mid to late 2000s, even making it to the Frozen Four against BU in 2009, but you've taken a little bit of a drop off since then, and I hope you guys get good. I'm saying this knowing that they beat us two straight times at the Songus Center last year in UMass Lowell. So that's a little bit cautious in putting you guys there. But that's how I would have done the coaches poll. Do you guys agree? Let me know in the comments down below. So now that we've looked at the regional sort of aspect of polls and we took a look at the Hockey East, which is the most local conference for me, we now are going to go and take a look at the national polls as everybody over the country is sort of retooling and seeing what they want to do and everything else and this and that. Now, no surprise here to see who's at the top of the list as Western Michigan, the defending national champions, got 29 first place votes. Boston University, the team they beat in the national championship game, they got second and even got three first place votes. Michigan State was one of the best teams in the Big Ten and number three. Denver, who beat Boston College to get to the Frozen Four, comes in number four and have won a few national championships in the most recent years. And Penn State, who have the number one recruit of the offseason, Gavin McKenna, and a potential number one overall draft pick. Boston College still in the top 10 at number six, Maine at number seven, Minnesota number eight, Providence number nine, and UConn number 10. What's this story? A lot of Big Ten and Hockey East teams rounding out the polls. Other teams who are not necessarily in the polls and are ranked at the moment, but did get votes. Colorado College got 68 votes, so just missing outside the top 20. Clarkson, 64. Northeastern and UMass Lowell each got 23. Omaha, Minnesota Duluth, 20. 19. Sacred Heart, Bentley, St. Cloud, Notre Dame. So a lot of good teams left off the top 20, but getting plenty of votes to be considered for the national polls. And that brings us to the schedule for the upcoming weekend. Games will begin on Friday as college hockey has returned and really is one of the best highlights of the sporting year. So, taking a look at the Friday matchups and some of the ones that stand out, Penn State and Gavin McKenna will get their first look as they will be heading out west to Arizona State to begin their season. UConn will be on the road to Colorado College, and Quinnipiac will be visiting Chestnut Hill at 7 o'clock. So, some really good, interesting games. Mercyhurst will be traveling to Yost Arena to take on Michigan, as well as Bemidji State and Alaska Anchorage. That's an interesting matchup happening at 11 o'clock Eastern time here, so a little bit out west. So for those of you who are not really staying up late kind of people, well, that's one you might want to check the next morning. Now, all those are non-conference matchups, but pretty high school matchups. We do have some exhibition matchups taking place. Michigan State hosting Windsor, Army hosting Long Island, and the U.S. Under 18 development team will get their first chance to impress this year as they will host Notre Dame and a one that I don't really think you can classify as an exhibition match. It's the first border battle of the year as UNH will be taking the trip to Alfond Arena to take on the hockey's champions, the Maine Black Bears. Now, those are all the exhibition ones. We've gone through the non conference ones, but there is one conference matchup of the weekend, at least on Friday night. And that one happens to be in Lowell, Massachusetts at the Tsongas Center as UMass Lowell will begin the season in hockey's play when they welcome who else? Their most hated rivals, the Merrimack College Warriors. That one at 7:15. I'll be there, my dad will be there, and a plethora of Riverhawk fans will be there. And make sure you stay tuned to the channel. A vlog of that game will be out in the coming weeks. Moving on to Saturday and taking a look at some interesting matchups. One that did not happen on Friday, but is happening on Saturday. Minnesota will welcome Michigan Tech at that game and does not have a start time yet. Stonehill will welcome Lake Superior. Stonehill is making some noise quietly as a Division One program. They beat UMass Lowell last year, 3-2 in overtime. I'm trying to forget that game as much as I can. Union will welcome Army. That game at 5 o'clock Eastern time. BU will begin their season hosting Long Island University. The Sharks have played spoilers numerous seasons past for a bunch of high quality teams. So look out for the Sharks in that case. And Northeastern will begin its swan song to Matthews Arena as they will welcome Holy Cross in their home opener. And then on Sunday, we even got some games as well. Boston University welcoming RPI at 5 o'clock. UMass welcoming the defending national champions. Northern Michigan, the defending national champions, are the Western Michigan Broncos. My apologies. But Northern Michigan will be making the trek to Mullins Center to take on UMass at 4 o'clock. And Canisius will welcome St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence, one of the four teams the UMass Riverhawks will be playing at Lake Placid this year, along with Clarkson and Alaska University. The vlog for that will also be on the channel in the coming months. That one happening the weekend after Thanksgiving. So stay tuned for that. And now we're going to finish out this episode like we always do with our wackiest of the week. And for a topic that for some reason it took this long for us to talk about. You see, at the owners' meetings in the offseason, there was really a talk or a vote in whether to ban the tush push, a play basically hallmarked by the Philadelphia Eagles, in which the quarterback lines up under center, two running backs behind him, and they basically push the quarterback forward to see if he can gain a first down. Now, everyone was up in arms saying you cannot defend this play. It's basically unstoppable. And the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles might have a competitive advantage against other teams. But here's my question to everybody. You do realize it's not illegal, right? And also, that gives you permission to use it, yet someone doesn't seem to get that memo. Well, apparently that memo got its way to Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as in their game against the Minnesota Vikings in Belfast, Ireland, it was said that, well, if it works for the Eagles, why not work for us with a little bit of a wrinkle? As you're going to see in the play behind me, the Steelers took a little bit of a wrinkle of it as they pushed a running back in the quarterback position with two wide receivers behind them and kept the ball moving forward with Aaron Rodgers standing 8 yards in the backfield. Now, what's wacky about this is two things. One, the fact that it took this long for someone else to copy the tush push, But also, what's wacky about this is Aaron Rodgers' reaction. He literally stands still, lets the other team do the dirty work, and when they finish the play, he goes, "Yep, that's a first down, and I did nothing. Look at me, how proud I am." But honestly, the fact that it took this long for someone to mimic this play and other people are up in arms about it, again, it's open. You can implement this in your playbook anytime, fellas. You don't have to whine and complain about it. So be on the lookout on NFL Sundays for all you football fans as to see which team might take the initiative and implement the tush push next. Of course, no one will be as great at the quarterback sneak as the GOAT himself, Tom Brady, who sort of made a living on that play. That's all the time we have for today on the Game Time Voice Report. Thank you for joining me as always. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos coming out here on the channel. I've been your host, Mike Walsh, and I thank you for joining me for another episode of the Game Time Voice Report here on the Game Time Voice YouTube channel. And make sure you remember, as always, Game Time Voice is the voice of the common sports fan.